Hello and welcome to my review of the 1 to 144 scale real grade Nu Gundam. So out of the box, we're going to get the Nu Gundam itself, we're going to get the shield, the bazooka, the beam rifle, 4 beam effect parts, but only 2 beam sabers, a small Emerald Ray figure, a action-based connector piece, 5 manipulator hands, as well as a piece for the backpack to mount 2 sets of fin funnels, and of course, 6 fin funnels. You'll also receive a set of real grade style stickers. So here is the real grade Nu Gundam in all of its glory. I have to say my first impressions are very positive. This is what you'd expect from a real grade interpretation of the Nu Gundam itself. There's a lot of nice color separation using 2 tones of white like here on the legs, and all the little color apps like the yellow spots of yellow and whatnot are all applied through plastic pieces, and nothing seals, nothing silly like that. So here's a quick spin around. So for articulation itself, the head is on a nice ball joint that allows it to go up and down. The head can spin 136 degrees, no problem. But what's more interesting is the way the neck works. So right now, part of the neck is actually in the torso. If you want to lift it up, you'll see that this part down there kind of lifted up and allows the Nu Gundam to look up even further. In terms of the torso, the Nu Gundam has a good range of mobility. It can be twisted to the left and to the right. It can't really ab crunch forward, but what it can do instead is lift itself all the way back, kind of arcing its back, which is really good if you're going for a pose where it's like launching or something. I must say that kind of opening does look a bit ugly though. The shoulder itself can be moved up just like that. The arm does move here on a 360 degree swivel. The arm itself is a nice 170 degree bend. And of course, for the actual shoulder itself, it can come out a very decent amount and allow the arm to get some nice angles. So moving down the Gundam, we have the waist section, and all these parts will move up independently. This allows for the legs to kick up at a nice 90 degree angle. And of course, the legs themselves will bend very nicely 180 degrees. A lot of sliding panels, very nice. As for the splits, the Gundam will of course do a ballerina split, provided the hands and arms don't get in the way. There also is the torso detail here where it allows you to kind of slide the legs up and down if you choose to do so. I personally choose not to, simply because it mismatches the legs and it can have a difficult time standing otherwise. For the feet, there isn't much movement here. This piece does move down slightly if you want to get into kind of a kneeling pose. It doesn't move down whatsoever. The ankles themselves have a nice range of movement, but not too much, seeing how you'll probably want this guy on an action base. The backpack of the Nu Gundam is also fairly unique in that it has the fin funnel charging racks over here. It'll just plug into the fin funnels like so. This part will rotate all the way around, but it's only a certain angle you can have to have the fin funnels still kind of flush with the Gundam. Over here is the single beam saber on its recharging rack. Again, you can move this around considerably. This will be very useful if you want to pose it with the bazooka, because the bazooka will get in the way of its normal kind of 45 degree pose. Back here we have a nice 2 sets of boosters, and you can lift this piece up to allow the boosters to move up a bit, almost like as if it was boosting. Now another cool part of the kit is that you can detach the top of this part, and Bandai gives you a second fin funnel charging rack which just plugs in, and you will be able to use the double fin funnel expansion set if you choose to buy that, or just buy a second Nu Gundam. So Nu Gundam comes with a plethora of weapons, and the first one we're looking at is the beam rifle. It's a very nicely detailed beam rifle, a lot of nice color separation. It comes with a little hole in the handle to allow you to plug it into the hand, and there is only one moving part, which is this peg here, which will allow you to plug it into the back of the Gundam when it's not in use. So here is the new Hyper Bazooka, spelled N-E-W, not N-U. Sorry to any pun fans out there. But just like the beam rifle, it's also very nicely detailed. I really like these rockets in the back. It should be nice if someone has to paint them up. In terms of moving parts, there's the handle here, which, like the beam rifle, also has a hole in the handle to allow it to plug in. And a piece up here that's similar to the beam rifle, if you pull it out, will allow you to attach it to the backpack. So here we have the shield of the Nu Gundam. It's a bit different from the Kotoki version that a lot of people are probably familiar with, but this is a bit more faithful to the material. There is a nice unicorn seal and sticker that you can put on here. But as you can see, it's just a very nice looking shield. The black parts from the back kind of show through to give it the kind of that vent design. It attaches on very simply with this attachment, and there's some nice red missiles at the end. Here's the beam saber, which is nothing special. You just attach a beam effect part into it, and it's now a beam saber. Nothing too special. What is cool about the Nu Gundam is that it has its own kind of personal flavored stylized beam saber, where a little handguard kind of protrudes out. And there is a special beam effect part just for it. As you can see, it's curved, kind of thick, almost like a saber. But it plugs in like so, and there is a small beam effect part that it plugs into the back, like so, to give it kind of that Darth Maul style almost. So the Nu Gundam's most famous weapons is definitely its fin funnels, and it looks fantastic here in the rear grade scale. All of these are plastic pieces, nothing silly like stickers. As you can see, both sides are very nicely detailed. As for mobility, you can turn it into the kind of folded up position, as well as the attack position, so it can go face off against the Sazabi. Now on the back here, there is an anchor point for some kind of attachment. If you get the Premium Bandai double fin funnel set, it comes with a stand that will have arms to display the fin funnels. But I've heard that the stand is actually identical to the one used on the Master Grade High Nu and Nu Verka. So if you have a spare of those laying around, you can get this set up on a pretty cool looking display. So the way you're going to be putting these fin funnels together is with a bunch of locking mechanisms on the side. So if you slide out both of these parts, you're going to be getting a little peg as well as a little locking piece. And the way it works is that on the other side of the fin funnel is going to be a set of matching locks and teeth, which you can then use to kind of line up together, connect them, and voila. Now, if you don't want them to be offset and you want them to be kind of the same side, then you're going to have to then activating all of these little locks and teeth will expose additional parts that allows it to be lined up on a even pattern as opposed to the offset pattern. So with a bit of patience, you can get all 6 of the fin funnels all lined up, and they do hold together pretty well. But as you can see, it isn't perfect. There will be a bit of sagging towards the end. That being said, it is very impressive that you can even have this in the 1/44 scale. So now let's get the Nu Gundam all armed up. So fully armed, the Nu Gundam bulks up considerably, but mainly off to the sides. As mentioned before, there is a problem with the fin funnels where it kind of sag down, but you can use the shield to kind of prop it back up. Other than that, I'm surprised by the lack of weight issues on this Gundam. I know a lot of other asymmetrical Gundams, like the Master Grade Quanta, has an issue where the torso and the waist unit will tend to sag one way because there's a heavy shield on one side. But here, this real grade kit doesn't really have any weight problems. I'm very impressed, and that's mainly due to how solid and sturdy the waist unit actually is. So now let's check out what kind of poses this guy can do. He's going to have no problem pulling off the kind of dynamic looking down the gun barrel pose. He's going to have no problem pulling his shield up and swinging his shoulder around to shoot the other way. The shoulder joints design on this kit is very well done. The bazooka poses aren't really this guy's forte. You do have to swing the beam saber back a bit to make room for the bazooka on the shoulder. Of course, beam rifles and bazookas tend to run out of ammo, so ammo is going to have to resort to a more traditional form of weaponry. I must say this is one of the more unique beam saber designs in terms of lead Gundams. Very surprised at just how poseable this Gundam is even on the ground, especially with the fin funnel rack still on. But in this case, if you can't tell, the fin funnel is kind of propping it up from the back. Of course, even when Amuro seems like he's out of options, he's still got something hidden up his sleeves. Very nice, but this guy was clearly meant for the air. You're going to want this particular action-based connector piece, as well as the one included in the kit itself. You can attach it by removing the backpack and then clipping this on accordingly, and then plugging it back in. This kit was definitely designed with the Action Base 5 in mind. Unfortunately, I don't have one with me right now. It does work well with the Action Base 2, but the real grade Nu Gundam is a pretty big kit, and it does have some slight stability issues on the Action Base 2. That isn't to say, of course, that it isn't capable of some very nice poses. The real grade Nu Gundam is also capable of an armor open gimmick of sorts, not nearly on the scale of any perfect grades or the master grade VRK. Basically, the armor pieces here slide open a bit. The front skirts slide down to reveal some plugs, probably for the Heaven weapon set. The chest will open up considerably along with the cockpit gimmick, and the shoulders armor just kind of splits a bit. So, nothing too complex, but I think on the real grade 1/144 scale, this is very impressive to even have. As mentioned before, you are given a second fin funnel charging rack, so you can do a 3-3 split even without a second set of fin funnels. So now for some of my final thoughts, as well as pros and cons of the real grade Nu Gundam. I think one of the biggest pros is that this is a very good looking kit. Unlike some of the older real grades, it doesn't have too many panel lines. It keeps the kind of simplicity of the Nu Gundam while also giving it that trademark real grade detail. I think on a similar load, it's a very stable kit. Despite being asymmetrical Gundam, it never had any problems with the waist unit kind of sliding to one side or the other. I've also been very impressed with just the posability of the kit. Even on the ground, as you've seen before, it can hold some very dynamic poses, and the fin funnels never seem to really get in the way, which is quite impressive given just how much space they take up. I also really like the play options you get with this kit. A lot of accessories, the fin funnels, the bazooka, the 2-beam sabers, as well as the extra fin funnel attachment point for the double fin funnel set. And of course, I've also really liked how the armor gimmick has been kind of translated to the 1/144 scale. Of course, we had the Unicorn Gundam, but that's whole gist is kind of, sliding armor pieces. I'm just very glad that we have some sliding armor pieces on the 1/144 scale. But on the downside, I did say overall the kit was very stable, but I did have the V-fin fall off on me multiple times, but this is a thing glue can't fix. The shield point here is attached onto the back of the arm, which is pretty accurate to, canon and most model kits. But it does make it a bit troublesome to pose just because you kind of have to twist the arm around. Not to mention the way the shield is attached on, it's attached to the sliding piece on the back of the arm that stores the beam saber. So sometimes you have problems where you accidentally move the shield and you slide the piece up and you drop the beam saber out, or the entire back of the arm just becomes detached overall. It also has a problem where it's a bit too heavy for the Action Base 2. Obviously, this kit was designed for the Action Base 5, but since it was still advertised for the Action Base 2, I thought that was kind of a knock against it. The kit itself is just very big and a bit too heavy for the small Action Base 2 to handle. And I think another big con against this is that it doesn't come with any kind of stand or display base for the fin funnels, when the fin funnels is kind of the selling point of the Nu Gundam. This is especially disappointing considering how the Master Grade Nu Gundam VRK, as well as the High Nu VRK and the regular High Nu, all came with an action base that could be used to display the fin funnels. Instead, you have to pay extra for the premium Bandai version, and it appears that it's actually the exact same base, just sold at a premium. I found that very disappointing. And to follow that up, this is a bit pricey for what you're getting. It's similar to the price of the real grade Sazabi, but it is a good bit smaller, both in terms of size as well as the actual complexity and the plastic in the kit. It's the same box, mainly because I guess Bandai wanted to be like a matching pair and look good on display bases. For about the same price of the real grade Nu Gundam, you can also get some other master grades like the Freedom 2.0, which I think is a fantastic kit and is similarly priced. And the big problem is, again, it doesn't. If this kit maybe came with the display base that is sold separately, that you use to display the fin funnels, I think it would be a very good deal. But without it, I do find it a bit disappointing in terms of value. For some closing thoughts, I think overall this is a very good choice for anyone who's interested in more complicated kits, but they don't want to get into master grades just because, they have limited shelf space or they don't like kits that big. I also think that it's a very good kit for basically any Nu Gundam fan. I think that it's a must-have for anyone who's a fan of the real grades or Nu Gundam. So yeah, thank you for watching my review of the 1:144 scale real grade Nu Gundam. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you later.